My wife started going to the gym at odd hours, so I followed her one night. My hands shook when I saw who she was waiting for. I stepped out of my car and said, "Didn't expect me, did you?" Her secret lover bolted, and she just stood there, frozen. "My name is Mark, I'm 42, and I live in Chicago with my wife, Sarah, who's 38. We've been married for 15 years and have two wonderful kids, Jake, 12, and Emma, 9. Our life was what you'd call typical: work, school runs, family dinners. But about 6 months ago, things started to shift in ways I couldn't ignore. Sarah decided she wanted to get back in shape and joined a gym. I was supportive. After all, staying healthy is important. Initially, she attended classes after work or on weekends, which seemed normal. But then she began going at odd hours, late at night or extremely early in the morning. She claimed the gym was less crowded then, allowing her to focus better. I found it a bit unusual, but didn't question it much. I trusted her. However, as weeks went by, her behavior became more secretive. She'd leave the house in a hurry, dressed more elaborately than one would expect for a workout session. Her phone became an extension of her hand. She took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. Our conversations grew sparse, and she seemed distant, often lost in thought. When I asked if everything was okay, she'd brush it off, attributing her mood to work stress or fatigue. One evening, around 10 p.m., Sarah announced she was heading to the gym. Something felt off. A gnawing feeling in my gut told me things weren't as they seemed. I decided to follow her. Waiting a few minutes after she left, I grabbed my keys and set out, keeping a safe distance so she wouldn't notice. To my surprise, she didn't drive toward the gym. Instead, she navigated through the city, eventually heading toward the West Ridge neighborhood. West Ridge is known for its quiet, residential streets and diverse community. She pulled into a driveway of a modest house on a serene street. I parked a few houses down, my heart pounding in my chest. Luxury living Chicago +5 neighborhoods +5 local logic +5 from my vantage point. I saw her get out of the car and approach the front door. A man opened it, and they embraced, a lingering, intimate hug that spoke volumes. My world shattered in that instant. I felt a surge of emotions: betrayal, anger, sadness. I couldn't just sit there. I needed answers. Stepping out of my car, I approached them, my footsteps heavy with dread. As I got closer, I said, "Didn't expect me, did you?" The man looked startled, his eyes wide with shock. Without a word, he retreated into the house, leaving Sarah standing there, frozen and pale. "Who is he, Sarah?" I demanded, my voice trembling. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked away, unable to meet my gaze. "How long has this been going on?" I pressed, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "Mark, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I never meant for you to find out like this." "Find out what, Sarah? That you've been lying to me? Sneaking around?" My voice rose, a mix of hurt and anger. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "His name is Tom. I met him at the gym. It started as innocent conversations, but it escalated. I didn't know how to stop it." I took a step back, trying to process her words. The woman I had loved and trusted had been unfaithful. The late-night gym sessions, the secrecy, it all made sense now. "We need to talk," I said, my voice calmer but firm. "Not here. Let's go home." The drive back was silent. Sarah stared out the window, while I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white. My mind raced with thoughts, memories, and questions. Once home, we sat in the living room, the room dimly lit, casting shadows that mirrored our fractured relationship. "Why, Sarah? Was I not enough?" I asked, the pain evident in my voice. "It's not about you not being enough," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I felt lost, unappreciated. I was searching for something, and I found solace in Tom. But it was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I looked at her, searching for sincerity. "Do you love him?" She shook her head vehemently. "No, it was never about love. It was a distraction, an escape. But I love you, Mark. I love our family. I don't want to lose that." Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, but I held them back. "Trust is broken, Sarah. How do we come back from this?" "I don't know," she admitted, her eyes pleading. "But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild what we had. Counseling, therapy, anything." I leaned back, exhaling deeply. The road ahead seemed daunting, filled with uncertainty and pain. But amidst the turmoil, a part of me wanted to believe we could find our way back. "We'll take it one day at a time," I said finally. "For the kids, for us. But it won't be easy." She nodded, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "I understand. And I'm so sorry, Mark. Truly." As the night wore on, we continued to talk, laying bare our feelings, fears, and hopes. The journey to healing would be long and arduous, but for the sake of our family, it was a path we were willing to embark on together. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus at work. I'd catch myself staring at spreadsheets without seeing anything. At home, Sarah tried to act normal, like nothing had happened, but there was a heaviness in the air. We were still sleeping in the same bed, but with our backs turned, miles apart in the silence. She kept saying she wanted to fix things, but all I could hear in my head was the sound of her voice saying it started as innocent conversations. One evening, I sat down with my laptop and did something I hadn't done before. I checked our cell phone records. It took 5 minutes to pull everything up. Hundreds of texts. Late-night calls. Not just for the past few months, but going back almost a year. I stared at the screen for a long time, then printed the records out. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I confronted her the next morning. I laid the papers on the kitchen table while she was drinking her coffee. Her hand trembled as she set the mug down. This didn't just start a few months ago, did it? She looked at the pages like they were covered in blood. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she said softly. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because that sentence was so damn typical. You didn't mean to. But you did. Over and over. She started crying again, but I didn't move. I couldn't. My heart was too full of anger and pain. That night, I slept in Jake's room. He was at a friend's house for a sleepover, and Emma was with my sister. I needed space, even if it was just a different bed. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking, who is she really? And who the hell have I been married to for 15 years? A week later, the twist came. I was leaving the grocery store when I saw a familiar face in the parking lot. It was Tom, the guy she'd cheated with. He was talking to a woman, tall, blonde, wearing a long black coat. He didn't see me, but then I saw something that made my blood run cold. He kissed the woman, just like he'd kissed Sarah outside that house. I took a picture with my phone. I followed him, carefully, just to see where he was headed. He drove into another neighborhood I didn't recognize and pulled into a driveway. Same routine. Another woman opened the door. Another hug. I sat in my car, stunned. This guy wasn't just cheating with my wife. He was cheating on her too. Probably with more than one woman. It made my skin crawl. That night, I showed Sarah the pictures. At first, she went completely pale. That's not me. No, I said. It's someone else. Just like he had you, he has her too. She stared at the photo for a long time. Then, without a word, she got up and walked to the bathroom. I heard the sound of vomiting. A minute later, she came back, her face a mess. I didn't know. I thought it was just us. That's the kind of man you risked everything for, I said. A man who kisses women in parking lots and makes them all believe they're the only one. She looked like she'd been slapped. I feel like such an idiot, she whispered. You should. I snapped before I could stop myself. I regretted the words immediately, but I didn't take them back. She needed to feel it. I needed her to feel it. After that, the silence in our house grew deeper. We started therapy, like we said we would, but some days it felt pointless. I was angry, not just at her, but at myself, for not seeing the signs sooner, for still caring. Then came the biggest twist of all. It was a Tuesday morning. Rain was coming down hard. I was in my office when I got a call from Jake's school. They needed me to come in. When I arrived, Jake was sitting outside the principal's office, eyes red, arms crossed. What happened? I asked. He didn't answer. The principal stepped out and waved me inside. He shut the door behind us and spoke softly. Jake got into a fight today. Another student said something about your wife. Something about her being seen kissing someone who wasn't you. It escalated quickly. My stomach dropped. After I got Jake in the car, I asked him what the kid said. He said Mom is a cheater. That people have seen her. That she's the talk of the neighborhood. My hands gripped the steering wheel. This thing between me and Sarah wasn't just between us anymore. It was spreading, infecting the kids' lives. Our reputation. Our peace. When we got home, I told Sarah. She cried again, saying she never wanted this. That she was sorry. That she had no idea it would get out. But it had. The secret was no longer a secret. People knew. The bubble had burst. And now, I had to decide what kind of man I wanted to be. What kind of father. What kind of husband, if I still was one. I still don't know how this ends. But I do know this. When someone cheats, they're not the only one who pays the price. The fallout from the fight at school was just the beginning. A few days after, I got a call from Emma's teacher. Apparently, she'd been crying in class and didn't want to participate in group activities. When the teacher gently asked why, Emma said something that broke me. My mommy loves someone else now. My daddy sad all the time. Hearing that made everything real in a new, raw way. My daughter, who still slept with her stuffed unicorn and liked pancakes with chocolate chips, knew too much. The damage wasn't just between me and Sarah anymore. It was seeping into our kids' hearts, messing with their sense of safety. I felt like I'd failed to protect them. That same night, after the kids were in bed, I told Sarah we needed to talk. Really talk. No filters, no therapy speak. I don't think we should keep doing this in limbo, I said. We're dragging the kids through our wreckage. She nodded slowly. I've been thinking the same thing. Maybe a break. That word hit me hard. A break. I repeated. After everything, now you want space? She wiped her face and looked at me. Not to see someone else. Just to think. To figure out who I am without all this pressure. I stared at her. I didn't even know who she was anymore. Fine, I said finally. Let's take a break. She moved out 2 days later and stayed with her sister on the north side. The kids stayed with me most nights, but she took them on weekends. We told them it was temporary, that we needed time to think. But kids are smart. They knew it was more than that. Then came the next twist. I was at a bar with a buddy of mine from college, Dan, someone who always kept it real. He was one of the few people I told about the affair. That night, he looked at me over his beer and said, "You sure you know the whole story?" "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said carefully, "I've seen Tom before. Around Wrigleyville. but not just with women. I've seen him with guys. Holding hands. Real close. I stared at him. You're serious? Dead serious. One time, outside a club, he was arguing with some dude like they were a couple. It got loud. My head was spinning. Could Tom be bi? Gay? Was Sarah just one of many people he used to keep his secret hidden? That night, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I called Sarah. I told her what Dan said. There was a long silence on the other end. I know, she finally said. I blinked. You knew. He told me a few weeks into it. Said he'd been with both men and women. Said he felt a connection with me. I didn't judge him. I thought I understood. I thought I could be different. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. So not only did you cheat, you knowingly got involved in a whole mess of secrets? I thought I was helping him, she said. I thought he loved me. I hung up. I didn't have the strength for another apology. Later that week, another twist hit like a brick. I got a message from someone I didn't recognize on Facebook. Her name was Melissa. The message was short. I think my husband is seeing your wife. Can we talk? My hands started to shake. I messaged back and gave her my number. She called that night. She was calm, way too calm for someone in her shoes. She told me Tom was her husband. They'd been married for 4 years. He told her he was traveling for work often, but she'd found hotel receipts and late-night messages. One of them had Sarah's name. I nearly dropped the phone. Melissa and I talked for 2 hours. She told me about the lies, the vanishing money, the late-night absences. I told her what I knew. By the end, we were both quiet. Two strangers brought together by betrayal. After that call, I sat in my living room staring at the floor. Tom wasn't just some smooth talker from the gym. He was a full-on predator, lying to everyone, using people like pawns. He had a wife, possibly more women, and my wife had been one of his willing victims. I printed out the messages and the hotel receipts Melissa sent. The next time Sarah came by to pick up the kids, I gave her the folder. She opened it, and her face went blank. He's married, I said. She said nothing. You were his affair too. Her knees buckled a little. She sat down on the porch step and stared at the ground for a long time. I didn't know, she whispered. I really didn't. But I didn't feel bad for her. I couldn't. She might have been deceived, too, but she still made her choice. And now, everything was shattered. We were no longer just broken. We were tangled in a web of lies that neither of us saw coming. And somehow, I knew this still wasn't the end. 2 weeks passed after I handed Sarah that folder. I didn't hear from her beyond the usual back and forth about the kids. It was civil, almost mechanical. She didn't ask how I was. I didn't ask how she was. We were just two adults sharing a pair of children and a lot of regret. Then came the school fundraiser. It was a Saturday evening, held in the gymnasium of our kids' school. Everyone was there, teachers, parents, even people from the neighborhood. Sarah and I hadn't planned to go together, but we both knew we had to show up. For the kids. For appearances. When I got there, Sarah was already seated at a table near the front, dressed nicely, laughing politely with a group of PDA moms. I sat on the other side of the room. I didn't want to be near her. Not tonight. I just wanted to get through it. Halfway through the event, I saw someone walk in, and my blood turned to ice. It was Tom. He wasn't trying to be discreet. He came in wearing a blazer, smiling, like he belonged there. He waved at someone and started walking right toward Sarah. My jaw clenched. My hands curled into fists. What the hell was he doing here? And then, she saw him. Her whole face changed shock, fear, maybe guilt. But she didn't move. Tom approached her like nothing had happened. They exchanged a few words. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but her body was stiff. I could tell she was panicking. I stood up. My friend Dan saw me from the next table over and whispered, Mark, don't. But I walked straight over to them. Tom turned as I approached, that smug grin still on his face. What the hell are you doing here? I said loud enough that heads started turning. Relax, he said, cool as ever. Just here to support the school. You have no right to be here. By now, people were staring. The principal, some teachers, parents. Sarah stood between us, shaking slightly. I didn't invite him, she said quickly. I didn't even know he was coming. Tom shrugged. It's a public event. Don't get so emotional. I snapped. You ruined my marriage. You played her, and your own wife. You lied to all of us. His face darkened. Watch it, man. No, you watch it. I shot back. I've spoken to Melissa. She knows everything. Everyone here is going to know what you are, if they don't already. The gym went silent. Tom took a step back, clearly rattled. I didn't care anymore. Sarah, I said, not looking at her. If you still have anything to do with him after this, we're done. Not just as a couple. As co-parents. I'll fight for full custody. I'll show the judge everything. She gasped, like I'd slapped her. You can't do that, she whispered. I can, and I will, I said. I'm done being quiet. Tom turned and left without a word, the murmurs behind him growing louder. Sarah stood there, eyes full of tears, her face red with humiliation. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, she came by. I didn't know he'd be there, she said again. I swear. But you didn't leave when he showed up. You didn't stop him. She sat down across from me, hands shaking. Because I was scared. Not of him, of myself. Of what I let myself become. There was a long silence. I destroyed us, she said. And I'll never forgive myself. For the first time in weeks, I felt something crack in me. Not sympathy. Not love. Just Release. I don't hate you, I said. But I can't love you anymore. Not after this. She nodded slowly, tears falling. I understand. We decided then and there to file for divorce. Amicably. For the kids. No drama. Just truth. The next few months were messy but necessary. We told the kids gently. They cried. We cried. But we promised them they'd always have two parents who loved them. We split the house. She moved into an apartment nearby. I kept the family home. The court gave us joint custody. No fights. As for Tom, he disappeared. Melissa filed for divorce and moved out of state. Word got around. His name became a cautionary whisper in the neighborhood. Now, almost a year later, I'm sitting on the back porch watching Jake and Emma play catch. I still have bad days. Sometimes I miss the version of Sarah I thought I married. Sometimes I catch myself remembering the good times, and it still hurts. But I'm healing. I've learned that love doesn't die all at once. It fades, bruises, reshapes. And sometimes, it's not enough to save you. But self-respect is. And that's what I chose. I divorced her. The love is gone. I still feel the sting of betrayal, but I'm standing on solid ground again. I may not know what the future holds, but I know I won't settle for lies again.